Hey, St. Julian's, Father Brandon here. Good morning. Happy New Year and happy Feast of the Holy Name. I wanted to take a moment just to give you an idea what in the world it is we as Christians celebrate today. But first, a little history. Today is the eighth day or the octave of Christmas. Always on the eighth day of Christmas, we celebrate the feast of the Holy Name. Now, there's been a couple of other feast days leading up to today. One of them, immediately after Christmas Day, was the feast of St. Stephen. And then on last Monday, we had the feast of St. John the Apostle. And then also intermixed in that, of course, was the feast of the Holy Innocents. Now, only Holy Innocents and the Feast of the Holy Name are associated with the Christmas story. The Christmas story. The other ones are prior to the Church Catholic actually taking the 12 days of Christmas and putting it on the church calendar. So, in other words, St. Stephen's feast day and St. John's feast day are older than the Christmas tradition. So that's why you have those still in the calendar. Okay, so what is the holy name? Well, the early prayer books, had this day, the octave of Christmas, as the feast of the circumcision of Jesus, the feast of the circumcision of Jesus. Okay, and really it was a penitential season, and it was somewhat echoing, or not echoing, it was answering pagan traditions of the New Year's, right? It wanted, instead of a raucous celebration for New Year's, it wanted to kind of counter that a little bit. So more of a sober tone, the feast of the circumcision of Jesus. And then prayer books, starting in the late Middle Ages, started to take a turn toward the feast of the Holy Name and took a long, hard look at Jesus' name and the naming of Jesus in that story from Luke's Gospel. So these two traditions, the feast of the circumcision of Jesus and the naming of Jesus, were kind of in a song and dance for hundreds of years until the current prayer book. And the current prayer book put them all together. It's the same story from Luke's Gospel, but now it's simply called the Feast of the Holy Name. So, what do you do on this day? Well, there's really no pietistic practices associated with the octave of Christmas, the Feast of the Holy Name. If we were together, we might have Holy Eucharist. That's one thing that is called for in the prayer book. But other than that, there's really nothing that we do, except we are Catholic Christians in the Anglican tradition, which means we're part of the Reformation, right, in England. And at that time, what was elevated, but Scripture, the primacy of Scripture. And so, as a pietistic practice and part of our Anglican heritage, what I thought I would do today is simply read you out of Luke's Gospel this beautiful story of both the feast of the circumcision of Jesus and the feast of the Holy Name. All right, here it is. Luke's Gospel, chapter 2, 15 through 21 are the verses. When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen as it had been told them. And after 8 days had passed, it was time to circumcise the child, and he was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. This is the word of the Lord. My message to you today is simple. Be like Mary. Ponder these things that you have seen and heard. from 2020, the experiences that you have, the emotions that you've had, the gains that you have had, as well as the many losses. And yet, look forward to 2021 and ponder those things in which God has set forth for you. Happy New Year. Happy Feast of the Holy Name. God bless.